Good afternoon, everybody. We have a few minutes. We're going to wait a few minutes and let in all the other attendees. But in the meantime, um, just want to say hello and welcome. So hello, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us for this Ethnocultural Grant Information session. We will just wait another minute or so for the rest of our guests to arrive. We have about half the number we are expecting right now, so we are planning to start the session in about a minute's time. Thank you very much. So it is 4:01, so I think we'll start. Thank you very much all for joining us for this session. My name is David Icharia, and I'm the Manager of Program Implementation for the Multiculturalism and Anti-Racism branch of Ministry of Jobs, Economy, Trade, and Immigration. So this is the first of our information sessions since we opened on the 14th of October. And the purpose of this session is for us to explain to you how you'll be able to apply for the grant, the eligibility criteria, updates to program guidelines, funding streams and amounts, tips for putting in strong applications, reporting and eligibility requirements and accountability requirements, and we'll also provide an opportunity for you to ask some questions, and we have the team here to respond. We'll also be giving you the information on how to continue to ask us questions as we go ahead. This session is indeed being recorded. Somebody has just asked, and it is being recorded, and it will be posted up on the website, the Ethnocultural Grant website, so that it is a reference for organizations to check back if they have any questions that will have been answered. We will certainly be posting it up for everybody to reference. So I'd like to introduce my team, the team who are here today, and explain the different roles that we will be playing. So first is Jackie Sichangwa. She's a senior analyst within our branch. She will be running us through the main parts or the main bodies of the material. And then she will hand back over to me to answer some questions. And also on the call is Tajinder Singh. He's a program specialist within our branch. Audrey Njovu, she's also a program specialist within our branch. And Teresia Mutheke is a program specialist within our branch. They will be answering questions that you can post. Feel free to post questions on the Q&A, not the chat, but the Q&A button that you should see on your screen. If you post questions there, we will answer them. We will also select some of those questions for me to answer live to everybody so that we sort of have a sense of the questions that will be of interest to a broad range of people. So we will take that opportunity to answer, and then at the end, we'll also answer questions as they come in. So without further ado, I will hand over to Jackie, and she will guide us through the material that we'll be presenting today. Over to you, Jackie.
Thank you, David. I'd like to acknowledge that we are presenting out of Edmonton, Alberta, on Treaty 6 territory. We acknowledge and respect the histories, languages, and cultures of First Nations, Métis, Inuit, and all First Peoples of Canada, whose presence continues to enrich our vibrant communities. I will now share a few housekeeping notes. We will be having a Q&A session around the midpoint of this presentation and at the end. Please type your questions in the chat and we will do our best to respond to as many questions as possible today. This session, as was said earlier, will be recorded and posted on the Ethnocultural Grant Program website, where you can access it for future reference. Next slide, please. During this session, we're going over the Ethnocultural Grant Program. First, we will talk about the intent of the program, provide information about the two different program streams, but focus on the ethnocultural grant. We'll look at program outcomes, eligibility requirements, and timelines. Next, we will go over how you can submit your application. We will then talk about how applications will be evaluated and provide you with some tips for a successful application. Finally, we will go over some important dates for which you need to be aware of. During the Q&A portion of this session, we will go over questions that you have submitted. Please type in your questions at any time. The information we're presenting today is available in the guideline on the website alberta.ca Ethnocultural Grants. Next slide, please. Before we get into the program overview, I'd like to encourage you to review the program website and to complete the information website for information regarding the grant. The program guideline, which is on the website, has comprehensive information regarding the requirements for this grant program. We are aware that some of you would have heard about the anti-racism grant program, which is also currently open for applications. Please note, there are some key differences in the purpose, outcomes, and requirements of these two grant programs. Therefore, please pay careful attention to the information we are sharing with you today. Next slide, please. Program summary, updated since last intake. There has been a change of emphasis to ensure that communities are building projects that increase cross-cultural understanding between diverse ethnocultural groups. The grant program will also support Indigenous communities to celebrate and build on their rich historical heritage. The program will promote intercultural understanding by providing funds for projects that encourage people to share, learn, appreciate, and respect cultural diversity between ethnocultural groups. Please note that the program funds are not designed to address affordable housing, job opportunities, or healthcare, but rather the funds are intended to educate about cultural diversity and inclusion in Alberta. The Minister reserves the right to adjust the approved funding amounts to optimize allocation across projects. On this slide, we have highlighted just a few of the funding priorities for this program. Next slide, please. Two program streams. The Ethnocultural Grant has two funding streams. Successful applications will support projects in one of the two program streams. Successful projects under Stream 1 will focus on creating opportunities for intercultural connections with ethnocultural and Indigenous groups. Some examples of projects that could fit under this stream include cultural exchanges, cooperative work between communities, creating safe spaces, community dialogues, creative projects, roundtables, and conferences. Applicants may request funding for up to 2 years under this stream. Successful projects under Stream 2 should aim to create opportunities to celebrate diversity. Examples of potential projects under this stream include events such as festivals, cultural showcases, performances that introduce cultural worldviews, expressions, creativity, and innovation. A maximum of $50,000 is available to applicants for Stream 1 projects. Stream 2 projects can receive a maximum of $15,000 for multi-day events and $8,000 for single-day events. The Minister reserves the right to adjust the approved funding to optimize allocation across projects. Next slide, please. Program outcomes, Stream 1. Projects submitted for funding under the Ethnocultural Grant Program must meet one or more of the program outcomes as indicated. If you are applying under Stream 1, you must ensure that your project closely aligns to at least one of the program outcomes, which are: Albertans have increased cross-cultural and intercultural connections. Albertans have better understanding of and value for people from other cultures and their cultural differences. If your project meets both of these outcomes, make sure to indicate this in your application. Next slide, please. Program outcomes, Stream 2. Stream 2 projects are expected to meet one or both of the two indicated outcomes, which are: Albertans from diverse ethnocultural and Indigenous backgrounds feel increasingly understood and appreciated. Diverse backgrounds are celebrated, making Alberta communities more welcoming and inclusive. Again, if your project meets both outcomes, please indicate this in your application. Next slide, please. Eligibility requirements. Organizations applying for this grant must be based in Alberta and must fit the listed criteria in the first bullet. Universities, colleges, or institutes as defined under Alberta's Post-Secondary Learning Act, and arm's-length municipal or municipal district affiliated organization may apply in partnership with Indigenous and or ethnocultural organizations or organization. A library is an example of an arm's-length or municipal district affiliated organization. Eligibility requirements also include organizations must be in operation for at least 1 year. Registration status must be active, must be in good standing, that is, be up to date on reporting requirements if the organization has previously received other Government of Alberta funding. Next slide, please. Ineligible organizations. On the screen are a list of ineligible organizations which include the following: for-profit organizations or corporations, federal or provincial governments, federal and provincial crown corporations, municipal governments, public entities such as post-secondary institutes, except in the case of partnerships. Schools, school boards, hospitals, and health authorities are ineligible. Political parties and individuals are ineligible too. Next slide, please. Consideration for a strong application. Organizations should keep the following in mind for a strong application. Please ensure you read the grant guidelines provided on the website. Organizations must have a clear understanding of the project they want to undertake and how it will contribute to the goals or outcomes of the Ethnocultural Grant Program. Applicants will be required to submit a detailed budget. Be specific in your funding request and ensure that items in your budget match the project. Organization capacity can be demonstrated through resources, people, knowledge, and skills to successfully deliver the project. The educational component of projects could be the development of tools or resources which participants can use during or after the project. With the focus of this grant being Albertans, projects that are not focused on Albertans and which do not take place in Alberta will be considered ineligible. Your project must not start before the date you apply. Any project that has started before the application date will be considered ineligible. Projects must be able to demonstrate its impact on objectives and selected outcomes. Next slide, please. Reporting. For Intake 3, all organizations are required to submit project outcomes and financial reports online. Organizations will have to sign on to the application portal and complete all the required information. Organizations are required to obtain feedback from participants for the approved project or initiative. Standardized survey questions are provided on the website. Organizations that fail to submit their final applications reports within the 60 days of the project completion date will be deemed non-compliant and required to return all grant funds to the Government of Alberta. Participants are encouraged to plan and manage their budgets in a way that allows them to fully utilize the grant funds awarded, ensuring that all eligible activities are supported and project goals are met. Unused funds may indicate missed opportunities to maximize impact within the scope of the grant. Based on the grant agreement, section 311, up to 15% of the grant recipient's budget as set out in the proposal may be transferred from one category to another without the minister's prior written approval. The recipient should submit a written request to the minister for approval of any transfers of more than 15% from one budget category to another. Please refer to Section 8 of the Grant Agreement for information on how to communicate with the minister if required. Next slide, please. Acknowledgement of Government of Alberta funding. Successful applicants must acknowledge the financial support of the Government of Alberta in communications and materials related to the funded project. Acknowledgement must include, where applicable, incorporation of the Government of Alberta logo on promotional materials such as brochures, posters, websites, and event signage. Recognition in public announcements, media releases, social media posts, and other public communication. The Government of Alberta logo will be provided to successful applicants in standard or reverse formats. Recipients are expected to use the logo in accordance with the Government of Alberta's Visible Identity Manual. Alternate formats may be requested from program staff if needed. Read the grant agreement to understand your obligations. The two last steps in your application are the declaration that you will be making and review of the grant agreement. Next slide, please. Before we move on to the next part of the presentation, I'd like to pause for questions. David, do you have any questions that have come in that we can address now?
Certainly, I can answer. There's a couple of questions that have been posted in the Q&A, and for the benefit of everybody, I'll just respond to them. There are some challenges that people have had with their alberta.ca login information, especially for organizations who have been involved in the program. This is our third intake, so there have been organizations who may have set up their accounts 1 or 2 years ago, and then maybe individuals have left the organization, etc. So you'll need to contact alberta.ca directly and ask them to reset your password and provide them with whatever information they will need. That's a totally different arm of government who manage that, so you'll need to reach out to them. And then there's another question about whether we'll be sending out the presentation. It's actually going to, this webinar is actually going to be posted on the Ethnocultural Grant website page. So all of the material you'll have accessible to you. So you'll be able to look at it there. Yes, Parisa. Let's see. I can see your hand is up, but I'm just wondering if I can. Parisa, are you able to ask your question? I think you need to switch on your microphone. Or type your question in the Q&A. I thought I could.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, thank you so much. So the chat section is unable for me. I'm not sure how to write out my question.
It's okay. You can ask now, and I will
Oh,
respond.
thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you so much for your time. And I noticed that you are encouraging that organizations collaborate with each other and apply for the grant. So my question is that how does it work? So should be one of the organizations be the lead applicant, and like the whole process, how should go? Like the expenses, how to apply, like these things.
Okay, certainly. So we encourage organizations to partner for a couple of reasons. So the applying organization may, for example, not have the capacity, the knowledge, the experience in running the project that they want to run. So they may choose to partner with another organization that may have the experience so that they can bring that capacity into the project. Now, there are two ways in which that other organization can apply. If your organization is an eligible organization, so they meet all of the requirements, they're non-profit, they're registered, they've been in existence for at least a year, etc. If they meet all of those, then if they meet all of those requirements, then in the body of the application, there's a section where you identify the partners or the organizations that you are looking to partner with. And so you would indicate on there, who you're looking to partner with. Now, in the case of partnering, it was mentioned that you can partner with, let's say, a municipality, and they can be the primary applicant, and they would be, in that case, they could be the ones who are running the project for you. They are the ones who receive the funds. They are the ones who administer the funds and make sure that all the deliverables of the project are met. And they can even help you with preparing the report at the end of the project. So it just depends on how you're doing it, whether they would be the ones who would be the primary applicant, or if your organization is the one that's going to be the primary applicant. But whatever arrangements you make with that partnering organization as to who's running what aspects of the program is really up to you. It just depends on what help or what reason that you are choosing to partner with a different organization. And then you can decide amongst yourselves what roles each organization is going to play.
So thank you so much. If I understand it correctly, it means that like let's say our organization can apply as a primary applicant, and during the application we can indicate that okay, we are going to collaborate with others, and which part will be led by which of the organizations, right?
Yes, and in that case, we would strongly encourage you, and maybe this is another tip. So where you are partnering with an organization, have that organization write a letter of support for your project and upload that as part of your supporting documents, because we do take those sorts of things into consideration, especially when the organization is acknowledging that they are bringing on a partner who is bringing specific type of capacity to the project, because that ultimately will speak to the viability of the project. So have them provide you with a letter of support and upload that as part of your supporting documents so that our assessors can look at that and evaluate it. So, sorry, I saw a question and then it went away. Okay. Sorry. Are you able to unmute yourselves? Allow mic. So.
Yes, I am.
Okay. So Toyin.
Hi, everyone.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to confirm something. Is there a restriction on how many times an organization can apply? Because I know an organization that has done it before. Can they reapply and has gotten ethnocultural grant before? Can we apply again?
Okay, so are you speaking about an organization that has applied in previous intakes?
Yes.
Yes, no, or there is no, as of right now, there is no limit. In fact, I will even go farther and say that if you had applied, for example, in intake 1 and you received funding, and this project that you are looking to apply for is an extension of that project, you actually get an extra bonus point for that. So if you are building on a past successful project, and you're applying and you're adding features or you're adding something to that original project, that would be that would actually receive an extra bonus point when they are being evaluated because it is an extension of a past project.
Oh, sounds good. Thank you.
You are most welcome. And Giselle, let me open your mic. So Giselle, go ahead. You might need to unmute yourself. Giselle, please unmute yourself and ask your question. If you're building on a past project, can you change the name? Sure, certainly. You can change the name and call it whatever you want. As long as you click there, there will be a section where you are asked whether it is a new project, a past project, or a recurring annual project. So you'll be able to indicate exactly what it is. But yes, you're free to change the name. Giselle, the function is not available to me. Okay, so in that case, please type your question in the Q&A and we'll have one of our team respond. And maybe we'll just take one more before we hand back over to Jackie. We are only halfway through our material, so we will need to proceed. Yes, Tejinder.
David, I just want to mention to all the participants that they cannot access chat, but you can type your questions in Q&A. That's the next tab right next to the chat.
Yeah.
And for you, David, we have a couple of questions that I've posted on the Teams. Thank you.
Okay. Can you please repeat the examples of educational components? So educational components might include tools. So if your project is going to be building tools that are going to be available to the public or to the communities that you are holding the projects for, or other resources, videos, workbooks, any resources that will come out of your project, that will be a good thing. And to indicate on your application, there's a section that actually asks whether your project will be developing any resources or tools that will live beyond the project that is being conducted. So those are some examples. Our center is part of a post-secondary institution submitting a financial statement. Our center statement rather than the whole institution. Yes. So so the question is, our center is part of a post-secondary institution. So when submitting the financial statements, basically, are you submitting for your section or for the whole institution? We want to see what your organization has done. We are evaluating your organization's capacity to actually run the project. But then again, it depends. Is the post-secondary institution applying as the primary, or is it the organization applying as the primary? So ultimately, the primary applicant is the financial statements that we want to see. Organizations with revenue more than $500,000. are eligible to apply. The program prioritizes funding from for this particular grant, organizations with less than $500,000, but an organization can have $1 million and still apply and still be eligible for funding. So there's just a bonus point that is applied to an organization that is that has a budget of less than $500,000. These grants are primarily to support grassroots organizations, and that's why there is a focus on the grassroots organizations. What are the sources of funding for this grant? Casinos, tax, it's tax dollars. It is government of Alberta dollars out of the consolidated fund. So it is tax dollars. So that's it for the questions that were posted for me to answer. I can see there are other questions, but before we answer those, and please hold your questions until the end, I just want to hand back over to Jackie so that she can do the second part of the presentation, and then we'll take more questions. And if you do have an opportunity, please click on the Q&A button that's at the top, not the chat one, the Q&A, and post your question there, and one of the team will be happy to respond. And then we'll pick some of those, and then I can respond as well. So over to you, Jackie.
Thank you, David. The next slide, please. We will now take you through the application process. And to the next slide, please. Thank you. Here are some important tips to consider before you begin your application. The first and most important step in the application process is to review the program guideline carefully. This will help ensure that you avoid mistakes and that you include all relevant information. Gather all the relevant information about your organization, including name, registered address, and banking information. Please ensure the organization has an active corporate registration number, as this information will be verified. You will also require a corporate registration number or Workers' Compensation Board number, as this will help you auto-populate your organization's information on the online application portal. Ensure you leave yourself plenty of time to complete and submit the application, as applications must be submitted by the deadline to be considered for funding. Applications submitted in November may be pre-screened and feedback provided if required. The deadline for submission is December 19th, 2025 at 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Incomplete or incorrectly completed applications will not be considered. Next slide, please. The application process. The application process involves several steps, including creating an alberta.ca account for the organizations, selecting the applicable grant application, completing the application form, attaching relevant documents such as the budget, an electronic payment form, most recent financial statement, and submitting the application. We recommend you review the program guidelines carefully before you start your application to ensure applications are submitted correctly. Incomplete applications may not be reviewed. The application form requires detailed information about the organization, its mission, its proposed project or program. The application form also requires a detailed budget and timeline for the project. The application form must be submitted by the deadline to be considered for funding. Applicants are encouraged to provide clear and relevant information about their projects in their applications. Once an application form has been started, you can save your progress and return to the form later. We have provided detailed video instructions on the website, which will guide you through the application process. Next slide, please. On the next slide, we will take you through some criteria that will be used to assess applications. Next slide, please. Applications will be scored taking into consideration the following: projects that meet one or more program outcomes, projects that are measurable. Priority will be given to organizations with an annual operating budget of less than 500,000. Organizations with an annual operating budget of over 500,000 can still apply. Submitted by Indigenous or ethnocultural serving organizations. Initiatives fostering community partnerships, advancing intercultural understanding between diverse ethnocultural groups. Priority will be given to new projects or an expansion or new phase on an existing project. However, recurring annual projects will be considered. Projects that demonstrate the involvement of partner organizations from other diverse communities in their development, delivery, and follow-up. Projects that have impact on moving the needle forward on selected outcomes. Applicants will be notified of their application's outcome by April 15th, 2026. Next slide, please. Application tips. Here are a few tips for completing your application. Clearly define the project. Explain how it will contribute to the goals of the grant program. Ask yourself, does the proposed project meet any one of the 4 outcomes of the grant program? Develop a detailed budget and timeline for your project. Note that the funds requested must not exceed the cost of the project. For example, you should not request funding of 10,000 if your total project cost is 8,000. The program guidelines have a list of eligible and ineligible costs. Please review carefully before submitting your budget. Demonstrate that your organization has the capacity to undertake the project. Capacity can be demonstrated through staff resources, experience delivering similar projects in the past, organizational knowledge or expertise, and more. Ensure the application is complete and submitted by the deadline. Next slide, please. Please review the program resources linked to the program at the website www.alberta.ca Ethnocultural Grants. And here on the slide is listed some of the resources you will find there. You'll find the program guidelines, fact sheet, program glossary of terms, budget template, sample financial statement, and post-event survey to participants. Next slide, please. Before we end the presentation part of this webinar, I'd like to highlight some important dates and timelines to be aware of. The application portal opened on October 14th, 2025. Applicants will have until December 19th, 2025 at 5 p.m. Mountain Time to submit applications. We strongly encourage you to submit your application early. If you can avoid it, do not wait until the deadline to submit your application. You can expect to hear about the results of your application by April 15th, 2026. Funded projects under Stream 1 must be completed by March 31st, 2027. This is for the one-year projects. Or by March 31st, 2028 for multi-year projects. Projects over 12 months in duration must demonstrate a need for multi-year commitment and the capacity to complete the project. Stream 2 projects must be completed within 12 months. Successful applicants must submit a project outcomes report and financial report within 60 days of completing the project. The next slide, please. This brings us to the end of our presentation. We will now respond to questions. David, are there any questions?
Well, I have unmuted your mic, Giselle. You have a question. Your hand is up. You need to unmute your microphone to ask a question.
Thank you so much again. I couldn't find again the Q&A option, but by the way, so my other question is that since this year's grant is supported by the Ministry of Job and Trade, should the project align with the ministry's objectives or no?
All of the required objectives for the projects are provided for you in the guidelines. So if you review the guidelines, you will see what the objectives and outcomes are in section 1.1 and 1.2 of the guidelines. So use the guidelines as to guide your application, and that will contain all of the objectives and outcomes that we are looking for your project to meet.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're very welcome. So was that, who was that who asked? Was that Yinka?
No, this is Yinka. How's everyone doing?
Please go ahead, Yinka.
Actually, have 3 questions. One, if we got the last funding, I know you said we can apply for the expansion of the same project. The question is, if we did not get the last funding, can we apply for the same projects that we wanted to do?
So are you saying that you submitted an application and were unsuccessful? And
yes.
And the question is, should you? Yeah, certainly you can resubmit, but you might also want to. There was an email that was sent out to all of the organizations who were unsuccessful the last time, and in that email, we identified 10 areas that we found that were common, that areas that organizations should look at next time they are looking to submit an application. So as long as you review what you submitted and look at that email and identify places that maybe you could have provided additional information, places where maybe you could have strengthened your application, and we would strongly suggest that you do that, and so that you can provide us with additional information.
Thank you. But if we were successful, we can expand the projects.
Yes. So one of the questions in the application is whether the project you are submitting this time, whether it is an expansion of a past project. So as long as you're building new features, new projects, you're expanding the scope, you're doing something in addition to what you received funding for, then certainly you can do that. Okay.
Last question, sorry. I heard that the first stream is the 50K, and if the maximum is 50K, and I just heard now that we can do a multi-year project that will end in 2028, how much would that be for a multi-year project?
It is the same 50K. So you are just, in this case, you would need to justify why your project needs to extend over an extended period of time. But the amount stays the same.
Okay. And when is the start of the project? If it's 1 year, when does it start? When does it end?
It's April 1st, 2026 until March 31st, 2027 is the first year.
Okay, thank you very much.
You are most welcome. So Canada in progress. Could you unmute your mic and ask your question, please? Canada in progress, you have your hand up. Or Giselle, you also have your hand up. You can unmute your mic. Okay. Sarah, you have your hand up. Please ask your question. Please unmute your mic first and ask your question. Sorry. And if you're having trouble maybe unmuting your mic, if you can type your question in the Q&A, one of our team will be happy to answer the question as well. So Giselle, Canada in progress, or Sarah, you all have your hand up, and I have provided you with access to unmute your mic. In the meantime, team, are there any other questions that maybe I might be able to answer while we wait for? Okay, again, okay, so there is a question that's on the chat. So for stream 1, the maximum grant is 50 over 2 years, so 25 each year. But we don't divide it like that. So at the beginning, if you are approved for a multi-year project, then you will receive all 50,000 at the beginning of the project, and you have 2 years to spend it. So the maximum amount will still be 50,000 for both years, not 100. Which stream would a church be able to apply for? We don't have streams by organizations. If you are an eligible organization in Section 3.1.1 of the guidelines, then you can apply for whichever stream you wish to apply for. Is it possible that an organization may meet all criteria and still not be successful? Certainly. In intake 1, we had over 600 applications for the grant, and in intake 2, we had over 900 applications. And in both years, we funded approximately 150 applications. So the grants are very heavily oversubscribed. So as an organization applying, we would encourage you to focus on putting in the strongest application that you can. Yes, you can certainly meet all the criteria, and there may still be, we select the strongest applications, the best applications. So as part of the tips that Jackie went through, make sure that you are completing your application as fully as possible and providing us with as much information. Make sure that your project is meeting the outcomes, objectives and outcomes that you will select. In Section 1.1 speaks about the objectives and outcomes. That's Section 1.1 of the guidelines, speaks to the objectives and outcomes. So you want to make sure that your project meets at least, some of those objectives and outcomes. And one of the criteria or one of the features that we do evaluate is looking for impact. So trying to establish just how much of an impact your project will have on those outcomes. At the end of the day, the project must move the needle, as we say, of the projects, of the outcomes, sorry, that have been selected by your project. So as long as you're making sure of all of that and you provide us with all of the information we need to evaluate your application, then we are not able to guarantee anything, but we can guarantee that we will review every application that we receive that is submitted successfully, that has all of the information that is eligible. So look through section 3 of the guidelines and make sure that you meet the eligibility, that all the costs, for example, that you include on your project are eligible costs. There's a section that speaks to ineligible costs and ineligible projects. So make sure yours isn't one of those. So the guideline is your best friend for this because that contains all of the information, all of the information that you need in order to put in a successful application. So, yeah. I can no longer see Sarah's hand up. Sarah, if you put your hand up, I will unmute you. I'll see if I can unmute you. Can we apply for both ethnocultural and anti-racism grant at the same time? Yes, you certainly can, but you will only be funded for one. So select the one and put as much of your energy into the one that you think will be the best project to meet the outcomes and objectives of that particular grant. Both grants have totally different outcomes and objectives, so you want to select the one that will that you think you will. You can apply for both, but you will only be funded for one, I guess is the answer to the question. But you can certainly apply for both. Yes, so somebody said you recommended applying early, well in advance of the December 19 deadline. Will you review applications as they come in and start awarding funds? Or will you wait until the December 19th deadline to start reviewing applications? We strongly suggest that you submit your applications early. And although the assessments will not begin until the intake has closed, for applications that come in within the month of November, for example, we will be pre-screening. So our team will pre-screen, and if we see anything in your application that maybe we suggest or we think you would benefit in having a look at again, maybe there's some information you have not provided, maybe the way you've articulated your project could benefit from some attention, we will reach out to you and let you know and open up your application again, and we will ask you to go in and add whatever information that we think that your application will benefit from. Sometimes organizations will submit an application and forget to include a budget or submit to include their financial statements. If you submit your application early, we are pre-screening, and if we notice any of those things, we will reach out to you and ask you to submit that information or to add that information and resubmit your application or before the deadline. So whereas we will not, whereas the minister will not be awarding, making the final decisions as to who will be receiving funds, there are some opportunities if you apply early. And the reason we say within the month of November or before the end of November is because we will have time to do that. So we also know from past experience that most applications come in within the last week before the deadline. By then, as I said earlier, last year we had over 900. Our team of 4, or this is the we have here, our team would not have the time or the ability to review applications within the last few weeks. So you have the benefit of having our attention, as it were, if you submit your application early. because we are going to be pre-screening, and we will provide you with input or with feedback. Well, not feedback. We will let you know if we notice any area of your application that could benefit from a bit more attention, so that will give you an opportunity to go back in and look at it. And we are not pre-assessing the application, so we're not going to come back with details about each section. But if we think there is something that might be of benefit, then we will let you know. So Omar, let me open your mic. So Omar, please unmute and ask your question.
Yes, yeah. My question is then I'm Jackson from Edmonton Voice of Newcomer. I try to apply for the couple of grants with this program, but nobody gives me the feedback. That's the number one. Second one, can organization still apply if you make for them less than 50,000 a year?
Less than what, sorry?
Less than 50,000.
Yes, there is no minimum limit as to, but there is no minimum limit as to what the organization size needs to be. As we said, there's an upper limit of 500,000 because we want organizations that are smaller, that have a budget of less than that, to benefit over the large organizations, but there is no lower limit. Now, I'm not sure I had your first question. You said that you applied and you were unsuccessful.
Yes, I applied for the unsuccessful or successful. I never get for them any feedback for the untraceable one for the same program for an Alberta website. This one.
Yeah.
And then if they didn't say to me this area you have to fix it because of this. Nothing they say to me. The application is still there, but the program is over.
Okay.
And then
let me answer that first question first. We do not give feedback on your application. It is not possible for us to provide feedback. As I said, with over 900 applications received, we do not give individual feedback to organizations about their specific application. We just don't have the capacity to do that. But when you received your letter letting you know that your application was unsuccessful, we did highlight what we thought or what we saw as common areas where organizations could spend a bit more time. I remember one of the areas was around the budget. So when you are presenting a budget, for example, make sure that you break down your budget and, in a way that aligns with the way you've explained your project. We are asking that you provide an explanation of the budget costs that you have selected, etc. So we find that that not all organizations do that. So that's one of the areas that we suggested. So the email had 10 areas that we suggested that could benefit from your attention, but we are not able to give specific feedback for every application that we receive.
Yeah, because even I didn't get for the email, and I applied for the couple of the unresident, and I finished and I took for the couple of grants, but not Alberta government. And I finished for that one, but then that is if you can apply for the grant, most of them for those grants they can say to you, and this area. That's why we refuse you for your application. Try again. But then in this Alberta government, and especially for this program, even then I took for the sports and a grant. For then I'm running for the even the soccer club. And then one time I failed, they mentioned for me. Second time I succeeded. But this one I try for then and trace the money times. Nobody gives it to me even the email and says to me for then this area you have to fix it, this area you have to fix it. That's why I have a little bit maybe not for my that's my question today.
Okay, thank you. So it sounds like a very specific circumstance. And on the screen, you can see an email address that is for our team. And if you want to send a follow-up email to us, then we can reach out to you directly and speak and respond to whatever questions you might have. we will not be able to answer, obviously, all of the questions that are being asked at this session, but we are trying to answer more general questions that apply to more people. But please do send us an email at that email address that's on the screen now, and we will be happy to respond.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it for this opportunity.
You are most welcome. And allow Mike. So Lal, you can ask Lal Jan Afridi, please unmute and ask your question. Okay, in the meantime, there's a question that has come. Is our team the ones who decide which projects get funded, or is it another committee? It's actually the minister. The minister is the one who decides which projects are going to be funded. So we have our team. We have a team of assessors who actually assess all of the applications and provide scores. Then our department it will then analyze all of those assessments and make a recommendation to minister based on the outcomes. The ultimate decision is made by the minister. So Lal, Jan, Alfredi, are you able to unmute your mic and ask your question? I can see you have a hand up. And Parisa, sorry, go ahead.
Lau is unable to unmute, so I'm getting her or him to type the message,
Okay.
the question.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So I have one more question. You said that the program, the project should be measurable. So can you please clarify on it?
So when you are completing your application, you will get to a section that asks you, how are you going to measure the success of your project? So, so for example, you might be planning to have an event where you are planning to have 500 people attend, 1,000, 2,000, whatever. So that's one measure. So at the end of the day, you will need to be able to measure the success of your project. You might also be measuring the success by asking participants if your project was about increasing cross-cultural understanding between your group or your community and a different community or the public at large. One of the questions you may ask participants is whether this project actually did that. Or did this project increase your understanding of our culture, our community, etc.? So ultimately, you as the project designer, as the project owner, will need to figure out how you will be able to gauge the success of your project and include that as part of your project application so that we are able to evaluate whether that will indeed be a measure of success. So ultimately, the decision is yours as to how you will know when that project has been successful and whether it will meet the outcomes and objectives that you will have selected for the project.
Okay, thank you so much for your time.
You are most welcome.
David, I've posted Lau's question in the chat, in the Q&A.
Okay, could you read it out? Because I can't see one from you, Audrey.
Sorry, just give me a sec here. We do not represent a single ethnocultural organization. Instead, we work across multiple communities on systematic issues of anti-racism, equity, diversity, and inclusion. Given that our work directly supports the program's intention to build inclusive communities, could you clarify how applications from broader EDI-focused organizations like ours are viewed within the priority funding framework, particularly in relation to the priority for Indigenous or ethnocultural organizations?
So you do not represent a single ethnocultural organization. Well, so the question is, so my question was, do you consider yourself to be an ethnocultural organization? There is a point. Now, within the points, the scoring structure, there is 1 point that is given to an organization that is either an ethnocultural or an indigenous organization. So that's 1 bonus point. You don't have to be representative of just one single ethnocultural organization, but you can be an ethnocultural organization that covers multiple ethnocultural issues. So there is priority given if you consider yourself to be an indigenous or an ethnocultural organization. But again, that's just one point in that particular case. Another point is given for an organization that has a budget of less than 500,000 points. But the majority of the points are reserved for evaluating your organization's capacity to deliver on the project, the financial feasibility of your project, and the project itself and the impact that it will play. That makes up 90% of the scores, and these are just bonus points for those particular communities or organizations, indigenous or ethnocultural organizations. Were there any other questions that were highlighted by or that came up in the Q&A that might be of benefit to the general forum? Or have any of you got a question that you'd like to put up your hand and ask? I'll be happy to answer.
John just asked a question saying, does partnering with another organization provide more points for a project? Is there somewhere I can find the list of what gives a project more points?
There are no additional points for partnering, but section 3.1.2 of the guidelines speaks about partnering organizations. The benefit of partnering is if your organization feels that partnering will provide capacity to the project that the organization on its own might not have. For example, your organization may be looking to put on a 3-day, 5-day project event with workshops and keynote speakers and other events to bring communities together, but your organization may not have experience doing that. Partnering with another organization that might have had that kind of experience will mean that the overall project will have that capacity. So whereas there are no specific points for partnering, you would partner if you feel that the partnership will benefit your organization in a specific way. And no, there is no schedule saying that here are the points, but we do tell you, I believe, we evaluate your full application. Everything you provide information on, we evaluate. We evaluate the organization's capacity, the project itself and the impact, and the financial feasibility of your project are the features that we evaluate. Okay. What about French Black-led organization? Sorry, I'm not sure what the question is. Is a French Black-led organization eligible? Or, I mean, all of
they have asked the question, can we submit the project in French and are they eligible? Both.
No, all applications have to be submitted in English. So both what and what, sorry. And is the other question, is the French Black-led organization eligible? As long as they meet the eligibility criteria in section 3.1.1, which is eligible organizations, then they are eligible. But no, all applications are submitted in English. Yes, Omar, you have a question. Please unmute your mic. Allow mic.
I got an idea from the question of my friends. Can the organization apply with the partner, and the partner can apply too? Both of them, can they able to apply same grant?
I didn't hear can the organization apply with what, sorry?
And I say for them, if I am the partner, finding for the partnership, if I apply with a partners, can my partners apply too, both of us?
If your organization is eligible under section 3.1.1 of the guidelines, then you can apply. Maybe I'm not understanding the question.
Okay, I say to you because then the partnership, because then for example for the collaborated for the another organization, if we are aligned with two organizations, it's the same program, and then we are then collaborated organization, can we apply for both of us the same grant?
If you are both eligible, then why would you be applying? Well, again, a partnership will be of benefit to your organization if it is adding capacity that you don't otherwise have. So if I'm assuming organization A on its own would not be able to put in the strongest application because there is some aspect that they don't have. There's some capacity issue they don't have. So they choose to partner with organization B. So together, they would be able to put in a stronger application, is the assumption. So your question is, can the two organizations then apply separately? Is that what you're asking?
Yes, yeah. Because then I made for them, this is then can be, we agree to work with me, and I agree to work with him, and I
Right.
apply for the grant, and it's still apply for this grant.
Well, I guess technically yes, but if organization A partners with organization B and they put in an application, I guess you're asking then with maybe organization A being the lead, can they then apply with organization B being the lead and they partner with organization A?
Yes.
Sure, but I guess we would ask what the benefit is. We need to be able to see. We will be evaluating each project on its own merits, and if that makes sense for the two organizations, then please go ahead and do that. But we will evaluate each project on its own merits, and ultimately we will know that these two organizations have put in two applications with different. If you are both eligible, then I might suggest that you might both want to apply separately or partner and put in two different projects. Maybe if you put in two different projects, one with A, so A and B apply for a project for A, and then B and A apply for a different project with B, but for a different project, and that way at least you have two separate applications, and they will be evaluated as two separate applications.
Sounds good. Thank you very much. Yeah.
You are most welcome.
Whatever. I give you for the complicated question.
No, that is all right. Please, you're very welcome. And there's a question: what if the organization was just registered last August? Is it eligible to apply? Well, I don't know. You would have to. You would need to meet the eligibility requirements, and one of the eligibility requirements is that you need to be, you need to have been registered for at least 12 months. So August of last year or August of this year? Last August. So that means this last August, you will not have been eligible for 12 months by the time you are submitting your application. So you will be an ineligible organization if you registered in August of 2025. There's some other questions here. Our organization is registered under the Canadian Not-for-Profit Corporations Act, and also under extra-provincial. Are we eligible? As long as you are eligible in the federal not-for-profit corporation, there's a registry, which is a public document. As long as you are eligible there, then you are eligible. So you don't only have to be eligible in Alberta. However, the project must be in Alberta for Albertans. So you need to have an Alberta operations address, and the project has to be for Albertans in order for it to qualify. So if you are a federally registered corporation, that is fine. But do you have an Alberta operating address, and is the project for Albertans? If our budget includes multiple cost areas, do they need to remain exactly the same during implementation? Largely, yes. But as Jackie presented today, up to 15% of the costs can be transferred to other areas of your project without you needing to seek approval. Any more than 15% of the budget, if you wanted to transfer more than 15% of budget from one cost area to another, in that case, you would have to get approval from the minister before you do so. And how to reach the minister is contained in Section 8 of the guidelines. But otherwise, up to 15% can move or can change. Can we apply for both streams? Can we share our applications in November? Can we share our applications in November so we can get feedback? We are not providing feedback for any applications. If you do submit an application within the month of November, we will have an opportunity to screen it. And if we see anything obvious that could benefit from you providing more information, we will reach out and let you know that you might want to spend more time, or you might want to look at your project description again and provide additional information that your application could benefit from that. We are not providing feedback on your application. We are just pre-screening, and if we see anything obvious, we will let you know so that you have time before the December 19th deadline to go back into your application and to add additional information. So we're not providing feedback. Can you apply to both streams? I don't believe the system will let one organization apply to two streams. I think it limits you to one. Now, you can apply for both grants. There's the Ethnocultural Grant and the Anti-Racism Grant. You can apply for both of those, but you'll only be funded for one of the two. So hopefully I've answered that particular question. So we have about 9 minutes left. So, happy to take more questions. If you have any more questions, you can put up your hand and I will unmute you. Otherwise, are there any other questions from the team, or the team thinks that might benefit for being answered? Yes, Jajinder.
David, great presentation. Can you give an example of what we are looking for pre-screening? Just an example so that it's clear for the candidates what do we do?
Certainly. So some very specific and real examples, and these things happen, is that there's a number of documents, for example, that are mandatory documents. Your budget is a mandatory document. Your financial statement is a mandatory document. Your application for there's a form that you have to complete that provides your banking information, etc. That's a mandatory document. So what sometimes happens is that organizations, in their rush to get the application in, instead of attaching a budget, they attach a blank template, or they attach a totally different document. So those are some of the things we're screening for. We'll go in and have a look at all submitted applications that are submitted within the month of November, just to make sure that, for example, we have all of the documents we need. If we see something that is required that is not there, we will reach out to you and let you know you seem to have uploaded the wrong document, you seem to have missed out the document, etc. We'll also have a quick look at your application and just look and see, for example, there's an area where you are supposed to outline your project activities, and you can put in as many activities as you want, or the key activities, and then the budget hopefully lines up with those activities. So if you have, let's say, 5 activities in the projects or project activities, and maybe then your budget might have 1 big activity, that needs to be broken down a bit more. And we suggest that, you might want to align your budget to those activities so that we as assessors are able to evaluate just how your project is going to run, and so that we are able to visualize this project. So if we see those sorts of things, we will reach out to you and say, your budget could benefit from a bit more detail, from a bit more information to better align with the project activities that you have provided. So those are examples of some of the things we're looking for. We're not evaluating your project. At that point, we have no opinion about your project, but we're just looking at the structural parts of your application, and if we see anything that's obvious that we think that you might benefit from, we have time to let you know, and you have time to address it and to respond. So, T. Getiro, please unmute and ask your question.
This is a quick question. I'm not sure maybe it's been answered, but for new organizations, may not have financial. Is a letter of explanation enough?
A new organization would not have financial what?
Statements.
Well, in order for you to be an active organization within the corporate registry, the Alberta Corporate Registry, within 12 months or after 12 months after 12 months, you have to submit your financial statements to them in order for you to remain in active status. So after 12 months of activity, you will have some kind of, we are not asking for audited statements. We just want to be able to see what sort of activities has your organization embarked on over the last 12 months, sorry. Some of the things we look for when we're looking at budgets and financial statements is just how well they align with the activities of the organization. So if, for example, your organization over the last 12 months has only ever done $5,000 worth of activity, revenues and expenses, and maybe have held one small one-day event, and then your project is maybe applying for $50,000 to do a multi-day project, we might want to ask, or we will be evaluating whether your organization actually has the capacity and the experience to do that kind of a project if they have never done one before. One of the ways around that would be maybe if your organization is aware that they have not had the experience to do a large project of the types of funds that they are applying for, you may want to partner with another organization that does have that kind of experience, because that will give your project a lot more credibility and will increase your marks for project viability. So just think about it when you're putting together your project, and ultimately we are using the budget and the financial statements to gain a better understanding of what your organization's ability and capacity is to successfully complete the project that it is applying for.
We have one question. Go ahead, Imad.
Yeah, just one question is about if my account was registered using one email and we have no longer access to that email, how can we reset that account? What can we do? So this is question one. Question number two, I was still asking about the federally, for example, if organization is federally registered for say more than 2 years, but they want to do all their activities. For example, say they want to do activities in Alberta. So say they registered beginning of this year in Alberta because they just learned from, previous grant that they have to do the extra provincial. So they did that. So is that organization eligible?
Yeah, so I'll start with number 2 first. So as long as you are registered and you are actively registered federally, and then you have an operations in Alberta, an operating address in Alberta, and your project is going to be in Alberta for Albertans, then on paper you are eligible. I mean, obviously I can't say from this conversation whether you're eligible or not. We need to review the information that you provide to us. But on paper, it sounds like you would be eligible. Now, coming back to your first question about the email address, you would need to reach out to alberta.ca. We posted earlier on the post, I believe Tejinda posted the link. There's a phone number you can call and speak with them, and they will reset your application with a new email address, etc., so that you are able to then able to verify your account and then use that alberta.ca account to apply for the fund. So you'll need to reach out to the government, to alberta.ca to reset your password. And on that note, it is 5:29, so we have 1 minute left. So I think that will likely have to be the end. But please, on the slide that's in front of you, there's an email address that you'll be able to use to submit questions, and our team will be more than happy to respond. Otherwise, the portal is open, and we are looking forward to reading all of your wonderful applications. And also, for those of you who may not know, there is going to be another webinar on the 23rd, the anti-racism grant. So if you haven't pre-registered for that one, please go to the anti-racism grant web page. Maybe one of my team can post that address on the Q&A, and hopefully we'll see you there. That's a totally different grant, totally different requirements, but we'll be going over the details of that on Thursday, and we will be answering questions to those organizations looking to apply for those grants. And on that note, we are at 5:30, so we have come to the end of our information session. But please do reach out to us again, and we'll be happy to answer your questions. Otherwise, we look forward to receiving your applications. Thank you all very much, and have a wonderful evening.